Hi Rhona, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, doing great, thank you. And it's such a pleasure to be able to talk to you today for this movie because I had a lot of fun with this one. I think Selina's a great character and very powerful character. So to begin with, I was curious, what do you really enjoy about playing a character like this one?
I mean, it's sort of like what's not to enjoy, really. I mean, it's sort of my wheelhouse of where I sit quite comfortably, in case you hadn't recognized. So it's sort of lovely to be able to walk onto a set and just be able to sort of flow into a world where, the language is really that of the sort of the dance of the physicality. That's what she does so effortlessly. It's just nice because also there were some other layers to this character. Obviously, some emotional subtext there between her character and Frank. So that was nice to be able to pepper some of that in, to actually put some femininity in there for a change. So, I mean, I do like playing effortlessly sort of strong women who don't have to sort of like do too much other than just sort of show up.
Yeah, and this is typically, quite a male-dominated world with these kind of action movies where it's this team of mercenaries. But Selina is clearly smarter than all of them. She's got this empire that we get a glimpse at. So is that part of the fun for you as well to almost be the smartest person in the room with these characters?
Uh, Not really. I mean, no, I don't. Is it? I mean, it's quite funny because it's. I've always played the character who sort of comes in and sort of does take on the roles where I have to, sort of tell the boys what to do, which is, I don't know. I sort of look at it this stage of my life, realizing I was raised with brothers and all of their friends, and maybe there's something in that, and it's and now I sort of have a sanctuary of lots of very wild, untamed animals that I also have to commandeer. And I think it's just something that's so intrinsic at this stage that it's not even a case of whether or not I take pleasure in it. It's just what it seems to be. And it's with no arrogance to it. It's just a case of like it seems to work well for everybody when a woman steps in and says, listen, kids, this is what needs to happen. And as long as you do it with a certain level of authority, which is I'm doing it for the greater good of the whole, as opposed to it being self-serving, which can be often what the male approach is, which is it's sort of about me and only me, and then you have that. And what I like about women who come and step into these roles, it's like, now I've thought about how this applies to the whole family. So it's a sort of, there's a weird balance of actually a maternal instinct that's in there, which is I've got everybody's back here, which I think is something that is a very nice, those are very nice qualities to inhabit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you work closely with Frank on this movie. And, beforehand, did the two of you talk a lot to, work on their Selena and Ryder's dynamic and maybe even what some of their history looked like, which is really only alluded to in the film at times?
Oh gosh, I wish I could say that was the case, and I would be lying if I said it was, because that would be not true, because we just had no time on this film. It was just done so quickly. Frank and I have worked together before and know each other. Relationships on screen are like music. They really are. They really are. Either that or a sort of like a tap dance. And when somebody else's melody, it's a little bit like stepping onto a stage with them and playing jazz, and I'm fortunate, and maybe he is too, that we know each other's cadences, nuances, and idiosyncrasies, and we know how to play with that too, without having to dig too much into the weeds, because we've kind of got those foundations. But we did every single second. I would, grab him by the scruff of the neck the night before a day of shooting. And I was like, right, let's tuck into this and make sure that when we're on set tomorrow that we've really got whatever the subtext is. But it's not Chekhov. So we didn't have to go too far.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I know you've done some really fantastic action roles before this one, and you get a couple of really fun fight sequences in this movie. So at this stage of your career, how do you approach those now? And especially, like you said, when it's a project like this one where that time is maybe a little bit less than you'd have on a bigger budgeted movie.
I think that's why I get hired. I think it's because they know I can turn up, and it's they know that they can hand me the choreography and learn it in a really short space of time. So um, I think there's a certain part of what we do when when you do action films, and this is what I've come to learn, is that it's a real skill. And you either kind of have it or you don't. And I guess that I was very blessed in my all throughout my career, that I have had really some of the best choreographers, teachers, characters, months, weeks on sets with phenomenal stunties and fight experts all over the world. And I've got that embedded in me now. So when I step onto a set with this style of fighting, which to me, is my job is to make it real. And my job is to take out the sort of the ballet, because I don't believe in that style of fighting. I believe in, a realistic form of, like you and me talking. I have my way of speaking to you, and you have, even though we obviously come from a similar place, but it's about making it's mine. And so my job is sort of just making sure that I can pepper in the flavors of Selina in this case and make sure it looks realistic. And also she has to be able to stand up against a lot of big boys, so that has to be plausible.
Yeah, definitely. And another action project I know it's been reported that you're going to be part of is Red Sonja. So is there anything you can tell us about that role or that movie? Because I know it's one there's a huge amount of excitement for online.
That's I can't I really I know that I'm not really allowed to say anything about that, but it's also not my move, it's it's very much Matilda. I don't know, my name does keep on popping up. I worked with MJ Bassett many years ago, and she invited me to come and do what I call a wink and a wiggle, which is be part of the family and have fun with some awesome people, great crew, great cast. And sometimes jobs are just like that. And it's like, will you show up and play and do what you do again? Which was, of course, you know, um, kick some ass, which is, so I did that. I hope I did it well, but the film really, I sort of not really, I can't speak to this one because it's not mine, if you see what I'm saying. But I think it should be very exciting. From what I saw, being able to stand back and observe so many of the parts of what were happening in that movie, I think it's going to be visually something spectacular, actually.
Ah, it's an awesome.
And I'm a big, big fan of Matilda. It's really lovely to see a young woman take on the role of such a strong character that is so hugely coveted and so anticipated, and take it on with such grace. I'm always so pleased to see younger actors coming in and taking on the work with a level of real humility and dedication, because there's too many who don't. And she's a great gal. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does with that.
Oh, amazing. Well, yeah, that's going to be a really exciting one, and I hope it's a hit. But back to this film, I know you said it was quite a short project, didn't have a huge amount of time, but of course you're shooting in somewhere like Malta. So I guess being in
Yeah.
some gorgeous surroundings like that, that must help a little bit as well when you come onto a movie like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, jobs are jobs, and it's amazing that we get to sort of, wrap it up and dress it up in scripts and costumes and all these other things. But it's a job. So I'm grateful to be able to work. And then when the location is Malta, which I've never been to before. I don't know if you've ever been. It's
Yeah.
mad. It's a mad. I've got lots of Maltese friends that I grew up with in England anyway, but I'd never been to Malta, and it verified. It made sense as to where my friends came from. It's an amazingly beautiful place. So much history there. Lots of sunshine, and then full of bonkers people, which I also love. So yeah, it was great. Great crew.
Yeah, well, it looked like you're on some amazing sets. And yeah, I know you said you've worked with Frank before, and of course he's done a fair bit of stuff with Marvel. He's got a lot of DC things coming up now, like Superman and Peacemaker. And I know you're in Supergirl, of course, but would you go back
Yeah.
to a superhero project when those Marvel DC films, or are they not really for you, would you say?
Oh God, I mean, anybody who says they wouldn't, I don't know. They're very lucky. I mean, I don't know who doesn't have to work today. So, yeah, it's work. I need to work. Everyone needs to. Yeah, I would. I mean, I have to say, I like being able to work on independence. I like being able to shoot in locations because you meet crew. For me, it's a lot to do with the experience of actually the process of filming. So when you get to meet local crew, in Red Sonja's case, Bulgaria, I've worked there before. I've got family in the crew members that I met 18 years ago. When you do studio films, it becomes quite restricted. I haven't done a studio film for a long time, so they're quite specific. They are what I call the sort of like the cast. They are it's a cartoon package deal. It's there's less nuances, creativity, and flavors that you can, and also just the madness of the brilliance of independent films. You have to make stuff work in strange environments, and studios are very controlled. So it's a different experience, but it's a great paycheck. So yeah. And the thing is that you're also working with, in the case of Supergirl, when I did that, is you're working with fan expectations. They really, the bar is set so high with what people want and expect from you. So it's not that it's limiting, but there's a different level of pressure, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, for now, I'm excited for people to check out this movie because it's so much fun seeing you back on screen in this one and kicking some ass. And as I said, it's a really fun movie. So such a pleasure to speak to you, Rhona. Thank you so
Really
much.
lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for taking time. Take
No,
care. Have a lovely day.
you too.